Howdy, howdy, and welcome back. We are about to start another Workshop Wednesday. This time it's a strategy session edition, and we're going to talk about how to guarantee that you're asking the right questions when it comes to your measurement. Before we get too far into this, welcome. My name is Chris Mercer. Yes, I do go by Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You should as well. I'm the co-founder of measurementmarketing.io, and whether you found us through some of the podcasts and talks that we give, maybe from some of the content that we've shared with platforms like CXL Institute, Digital Marketer, Measure Summit, or Social Media Examiner, maybe you're already a member over at measurementmarketing.io. However you found us, we are happy that you're here. It's our job to help people like you learn how to use all these crazy cool tools. And today, it's about strategy. We're going to focus on the strategy. So not actually diving into Google Analytics and Tag Manager. So if you're not the one that's actually in those tools, it's okay, because these strategy session trainings are for you. It's for how to think about this stuff. Now, of course, we are famous for the Measurement Marketing Academy. This is the Academy itself. We will go through more on this a little later toward the end of this. But remember, the Academy really is here to help you do these things. This is the Measurement Marketing Framework. Plan, build, and act. Even if you're not the one doing the build out, you still have to you have to understand this framework, because as marketers, we typically are marketing in the blind. We're trying to get to the point where we've got a marketing system that is predictably growing our results, right? That's what we're looking to do. So how do we do that? We follow this plan, build, and act. But really, it's these three keys that are in each one of these steps. So the first three, questions in the plan. You think about what questions are important. We're going to talk about that today. Then the information that you need to measure. This is where your measurement teams may help you out with this. And then ultimately, what actions will you take based upon the answers that you get back, right? You do all that stuff in the planning. It's very strategy oriented. And even if you're not the one doing the build out, you absolutely should be involved in the planning process. Then there's the build out. This is, of course, where maybe your implementation teams are jumping in the Tag Manager and making sure that, or analytics and platforms like that, to make sure that the traffic is identified. So who, what, and why, right? Why is that traffic coming there? What results are we trying to measure for? And are those results being measured for? Ultimately, making sure that's done in a way so that traffic is tied to results. It's structured together to tell a story. Once that part's done, then as a strategist, you come back. You may not do the build, but you do come back into the act stage where you are looking at the reports or the dashboards, whatever it is where you're interacting with these answers that you were trying to get answered questions, right? So you look for your answers, get your benchmarks, then you can start building forecasts and start planning ahead, as every company should be doing. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then you will measure against your forecast. That'll tell you what's working and what's not. So that's how you optimize, so you know what to focus on. And of course, that's what builds this entire system. That is the Measurement Marketing Framework. And of course, why we helped you with this channel, as well as the Measurement Marketing Academy itself. Now, with all of these trainings, you focus on one thing. We're going to cover quite a bit. For a strategy session, I try to keep them kind of simple. Simple's the wrong word. Focused. I try to keep them focused. And we're going to talk about a couple of different things here, because I want to give you some really cool tools to help you guarantee that the questions that you're asking are useful, and that they're useful for your system, and they are useful for your marketing results. They're useful for you to grow revenue and profits. So just grab kind of one new concept, one new idea, maybe one way of hearing something or a phrase that you've heard for the first time. Practice that. Then you can come back, rewatch this workshop, which is why we make them publicly available, so that you can grab the next new one thing. All right, without further ado, strategy session. How to guarantee you're asking the right questions. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. Now, normally this is where I bring up like analytics or Tag Manager and show some stuff, but this is a strategy session. So this brings up Lucidchart, our favorite tool for teaching here. So the phrase that I want you to remember is results and how. Okay, results and how. And this is what I'm going to describe. And the reason that I did this little diagram here is to prove a point that everybody thinks their model's unique and different. And I hear that a lot. Oh, but what about e-commerce? Oh, but what about direct response? Oh, but we do content marketing. Oh, but we're influencer marketing. There's no difference, right? Marketing is just a conversation between the users and the media that you are promoting your message on. And you can measure for that conversation. That's what measurement marketing is all about. They all go through a similar path. I just kind of picked three random ones here, but they all have the same basic idea. As a strategist, it's important that you understand that, because it makes strategy easier to adopt. Now, when people first start out, they typically are measuring for these big giant, what we call the results. So how many purchases did I make? How many units did I sell? How many leads did I acquire? And if they're lucky, they're able to tie that relatively easily to a traffic source. So maybe that's coming from a Facebook ads vendor is telling you what's going on because they're pulling the details from Ads Manager. Maybe your email system is able to tell you how many purchases it made through me because it's got an integrated cart or something like that. And that's good. We definitely want to measure for these results, right? The idea of these end results. But more important, and this goes to really, this is a trick. This is a little technique that you can use to guarantee that you're asking the right questions is, am I asking just my results questions, which is how many of these did I sell? How many of these did I acquire? Or am I also asking my how questions? Because you need both. You need results and how. So what are the how steps? It's all this stuff. All these little steps that lead up to the actual thing in this journey, right? That you're trying to work toward. So in the case of direct response, it might be how many land reviews that I get, how many carts of those, how many people saw the cart, of those, how many purchased, of those, how many took the upsell or cross sale. If it's e-commerce, how many product detail views that I get, of those, how many added to cart, of those, how many started the checkout, of those, how many added the people like you also like purchasing products like this, and how many purchased. If it's content marketing, how many loaded the blog post? Of those, how many scrolled or engaged for a certain period of time? Of those, how many clicked? Of those, how many saw the opt-in and actually opted in to become a lead, right? So you start to see that there's the same exact format can be used. And I realize that your particular model might have different steps, but you still have results, the main result you're looking for, and you still have how. And you should be asking questions around all of it. So not only what the end result is, but how you got there. Because the only thing scarier than not knowing how something didn't work, right? If you failed and not knowing how you failed, is not knowing how you're successful. And that's what happens most of the time. We have too many people that will come to us in a panic because they were successful. It's what we call the curse of a good offer. They had a great offer. It was working. They were selling stuff. They kept selling stuff. They kept ramping up paid media. They kept ramping it up. And then one day paid media stopped working and they have no idea why, because they were never measuring their how steps. So they don't know what in the machinery broke. So that's a very, very important first step. So always make sure that when you're asking these questions, you've gone through results and how, so that you're asking questions around what result you're trying to get. And obviously you want to measure for that, and then how you're getting that result. Now, equally as important, and this kind of relates to this, is this little phrase here. When you think about this, every brand, right? You have a brand that you're marketing for. Every brand has multiple customer journey paths. You always hear about the customer journey, right? Every brand has multiple paths. So you might have a main path that's for the brand itself. Like in the case of measurementmarketing.io, we have people first have to be aware of the brand of measurementmarketing.io. Maybe we want them to complete a purchase of a core product, and to engage along the way, we want them to go to a blog, right? That might be the customer journey for the measurementmarketing.io brand. But we have a flagship product, the Measurement Marketing Academy. The Measurement Marketing Academy has its own customer journey, which of course has the same 3 key stages we just talked about, this aware, complete, and engage, what we call the ACE model. So we ask questions around how many people are aware of the Measurement Marketing Academy, how many people completed that purchase, how many people engaged along the way, right? And we measure for different stages of engagement so we know where we lost the conversation if we did, right, with a user. So we got to make sure that all of our customer journeys have been planned out, and we're asking questions around what the results, which is this completion step, what the result is of our customer journey, and the how steps. Again, starting with awareness, how many were aware in the first place, how many engaged along the way. That's what this stuff is, right? Same thing, just in a slightly different way. So whether you remember this as results and how, or you remember this as ACE, this ACE, the aware, complete, and engage, if you ask questions around this, I guarantee you your questions will get better. As you're coming through, right? So asking your right questions. You got to know your results and how, and you got to be able to tell the story of the customer journey, various customer journeys, right? One for each of your products, one probably for your brand, one for the different things that you're trying to get a customer to move through. And every customer journey has these 3 key stages of awareness, completion, and then engagement. You should be measuring for all of that and asking questions around that. Now, the final tip that I'm going to give you, remember, there's kind of 3 big ones I want you to remember. 1 is results and how. 2 is this ACE model, right? Aware, complete, engage. And of course, you work with your measurement teams to make sure that they're measuring for this stuff. But the final thing I'm going to give you, besides results and how and ACE, is KIA. So KIA is question, information, and action. And this is a model that I want you to follow when you're asking questions. And you kind of do it like we did here. Just 3 columns. You can do this on a whiteboard, spreadsheet, piece of paper, back of a napkin at the bar, whatever you feel like. Question, information, and action. So the first thing you do is you list out all the questions that you want to ask. We sort of did a couple of examples here so you can see. So for example, regarding our homepage, is it helping to direct users to the next step? Okay, is it helping direct users to the next step? Now, this is a very different question. Let me give you an example of a poor question. A poor question would be, our homepage How are users using our homepage? That's a junk question. Now, I know you might be thinking, oh my God, I've asked questions like that before. You probably have. I know I did when I first started. I used to ask questions like, well, how are people using our blog? Well, how are people interacting with our homepage? It's not a great question. It's not a good quality question. It's kind of a junky question. It doesn't provide a lot of value. What you immediately need to do whenever you ask a question like that, and you'll get better at this as a habit, is you start going, well, how are they supposed to use the homepage? Right? How are they supposed to use the homepage? That's what the question is. Are they using it the way they're supposed to be using it? It's always that. And so that's why we phrased it like we did here. Let me go back and change this. There we go. So is it helping direct users to the next step? Because that's what our homepage in particular is there to do. It's not there to sell them. It's not there to get a lead. It's there as a kind of an informational booth that users come into at the measurementmarketing.io, loads the homepage, gets them to the next step. Is it doing its job of getting them to the next step, right? That's a better quality question. Now, what information, this is the I part of this, what information will we need in order to answer that question? Well, we're going to have to measure the homepage, as a lander, people coming in as a lander, because we want to measure that specific customer journey, that specific path. And then, of course, next page views. And then we'll figure out what our conversion rates are, right? Now, this information stage, if you're not the person doing the implementation, this stage is where you work with your measurement teams, with your implementation teams, and you ask them, like, hey, how would I know this? What behaviors can you measure for that would help me to answer this question? And they'll help you build this part out, right? But you as a strategist have to come up with these questions and come up with good quality questions, right? It's not as easy as it sounds. You wouldn't be here watching this if it was super easy, right? So remember, the question always is some generic version, or some specific version, I should say, of the generic question of, is this working like it's supposed to, right? You're always sort of asking that. Is it working like it's supposed to? So in this case, is the homepage helping to direct users to the next step? Here's the things we're going to have to be able to set up in our measurement system to be sure that our implementation is able to measure for these behaviors so we can get the answers to this question. And then again, as a strategist, this is where you shine right here, the action step. And I'm going to tell you why this is so important. It's a if this then that sort of answer that you want to give here for this action step. And you're role playing what this report might look like, or when you get the answers to this question, what actions you might take. Effectively answering this action step helps to improve the question. And I'm going to come to an example in just a second here that'll show you exactly what I mean. But as an example here in the action, we say, well, if we see less than 75% of the people coming to the homepage and then moving on, so if 25% or more come to the homepage and then just leave, they bounce from the homepage, we might have an issue, right? We want to look at the traffic source, maybe the above the fold copy we'll take a look at, and we want to dive into the actual steps that are happening on the page. If it's that, right? We need to figure that out. And if it is working, that's the other on-page behaviors here, right, that we would look at. Now, if it is working, it's like, cool, well, let's just keep doing traffic because it's doing what it needs to be doing, right? We're happy with the page itself. There's no actions, maybe no actions to take, maybe it's scale, right, when it comes to a specific traffic source, if that path is working for you. Another example, specific product in this case. So whereas the homepage might be more of a brand style customer journey as they engage with the brand, in this case of measurementmarketing.io, what about the Academy? The Academy is a specific product for us, the Measurement Marketing Academy. So if I'm asking the question, okay, what part of the page should the copywriter update? That's a good quality question, right? The copywriting team needs to know what part of the page they might need to make some adjustments to. Well, how would I be able to get that answer? Again, you work with your implementer. Hopefully your implementer, especially if they're a part of the Academy or have been a part of our YouTube channel for any period of time, they know about the Eyes on the Journey report, where we measure how many times they were introduced to the product, how many times they showed interest in the product, how many of those actually investigated purchasing the product, and how many of those actually initiated for the purchase, right? It's what we call the Eyes on the Journey report. So they might set that up for you. And then you think through, again, what the actions are. Well, if the investigates are low, which means people are showing some interest, but they're just not investigating the offer, then maybe I got to adjust the body copy, right? Because they're just not really caring that much about the offer, and that's because I didn't really get true interest, right? So we adjust the body copy. If the initiates are low, which means they're looking at the offer, but they're just not moving to that cart, maybe we have to take a look at the offer itself and adjust the offer copy. If the introduceds are low, which as an example, maybe that's, they didn't stick around for more than 10 seconds. Well, if our introduceds are low, well, then we have an above the fold problem. It's not the offer. It's not the body copy. It might be something with the ad that handed over kind of set the expectation wrong. Or maybe it's just the copy that's above fold. Maybe it's the headline or the above the fold design that is really disengaging. And so not meeting the expectations. So they're leaving quickly, right? They're bouncing off. So, but very specific actions tied to high quality questions. Now let's talk about another example of a low quality question, right? A question that is just not all that useful, right? Doesn't really produce real muscle when it comes to improving our marketing. That's this one. So regarding our email, what paragraph are our users clicking on? Okay, so what paragraph are our users clicking on? And again, I get the idea of this because, well, we could actually measure for this, right? We can use UTMs and we can change the email links so that every email link tells us what paragraph they were on. So we will know what paragraph number they clicked on. Now think about the action. Again, this is very dependent upon your model, and I get that, right? But let's role play this. Think about the action. And what you would do is you think, well, let's say in 6 months I'm looking at a report and it says, okay, paragraph number 3, so not email number, but paragraph number 3. People that click on paragraph number 3, they end up, that's just amazing. We get the result we're looking for from people that do that. What actions will you take? Now, you might think to yourself, oh, well, I'm just going to put more links in paragraph number 3. But that's assuming that you have this very strict email system when it comes to paragraphs. And maybe you do, in which case there's a useful action to a good quality question. But if you're kind of like, well, or I don't know, that doesn't really mean anything because sometimes we have longer sentences, sometimes we have shorter sentences. Paragraph number 3 really doesn't mean anything to us, which, let's face it, is probably the case because most emails are not that structured. Then it wouldn't be a good quality question because you couldn't take any real action on it. So you would go back and you would improve the question until it led to a natural action when you get the answer. So for example, we might say, well, okay, we can't really use the paragraph thing, but what we really want to know is, so email, is it better to link images or text, right? Maybe we want to know that, in which case, cool, we can do email, UTM, the email links to let us know if images or text is being clicked, right? So that's something your implementation team can help on. And then what actions would you take? Well, if images are leading to more sales, then we add more images to emails. Like I'm pretending for a second in this little role play that maybe you do primarily text-oriented emails and you're just sort of practicing to figure out, well, hey, do images really matter? Because maybe images lead to a ton of clicks because they're cool to click on, but they don't build value, so they're not ready for the message, so they don't lead to sales, right? Well, this is how we know this sort of stuff. Good quality question, very specific measurement to get the answer, very specific actions we're going to take based upon the answer to the question. So now you have 3 ways to practically guarantee that you are asking the right questions. One is you run through this KIA process. You write down all the questions, work with your implementation teams, or if you're the implementer, obviously you can help with this. Fill out the information that the behaviors that you're going to need to measure for in order to get the answers to the questions. And then most importantly, what actions will you take based upon the answers you get? And just like we did here, you role play this. You do this before you open up analytics, before you look at a report, before you talk about dashboards. None of that matters. You do this in the planning stage, this question, information, and action step. So that's the one. This is the KIA. The other 2, we already talked about. ACE, right? Measure aware, measure complete, measure for engage. The 3 key stages of every single customer journey. And yes, you have multiple customer journeys happening through your brand. Probably one for each product. And at least one for the brand itself, right? So you can measure for those different things. And all of that is just another variation. This ACE thing is another variation of results and how. You have to know what your results are, and you have to know how you're getting results. And most people, when they're just starting out as a baby measurement marketer, which we all did, myself included, we measure for results because that's the obvious one, right? Number of purchases, number of leads, things like that. What we really need to do very quickly is move from just results to results and how. Then you start thinking in terms of customer journey and aware, complete, and engage. And then you level up into KIA, question, information, action. So with those 3 techniques, KIA, ACE, and results and how, you now know how to practically guarantee that you are asking the right questions. Now, what was your one thing? Hopefully at least one of those you haven't heard before, maybe just heard about it in a slightly different way, enough for you to take action. If you had to choose one thing, I would say results and how is it. And I would actually do it in this order. I would do results and how first, because you got to make sure you know your results and you know how you're getting the results, because that is your map to future sales and revenue growth. Got to know that. Then you do customer journey stuff with the ACE model. Then you can add in Kia because it's a little more detailed. It takes a little more time to do Kia, but it's really useful to go through that process. Now, next week, we're going to do another strategy session because June, the month of June, we're recording this right now on June 23rd, 2021. But the month of June is two extra, or have an extra Wednesday. So we do two strategy sessions. Lucky us. So we're going to do another strategy session. This time, we're going to talk about using the right tool at the right time, which is another problem that I think a lot of measurement marketers face is every day there's a new cool tool to use. Do you use Tag Manager now or do you use it later? Do you use Facebook Ads Manager for this? Do you use this cool little push button simple analytics tool that just came out? Do you use the flavor of the month or do you keep using analytics? Like, what do you do? So there is a strategy we're going to talk about to help guide that. So you can work with your team and your company and your brand or yourself if you're working by yourself to think about what tools you should be using at the right time. If you want to make sure you get that workshop, please do take a moment to subscribe to the YouTube channel. By the way, as of this recording, we are just a hair's breadth away from 2,000 subscribers, which is really cool. So if you would be so kind, if you are watching the YouTube channel, please do take a second to subscribe. You can request to get notified, and then as soon as we make these workshops available, you will see them as we release them. So you'll get a little message from YouTube. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it, of course, is the Measurement Marketing Toolbox. For those that are not familiar with that yet, you can be a free member. This is our free membership level. It includes this workshop. So you always see the most recent workshop. Of course, they're all available on YouTube as well, but you get to see the most recent one there. For convenience. The real power of the toolbox is all the free tools that are back there. These are tools we've created for our members, but we make them available for our free members as well. So things like the traffic tracking toolkit are back there. It's one of our most famous tools. There's ACE goals back there. So you can learn about how to set up ACE, that aware, complete, and engage model we talked about. There's a split test optimization pipeline for those that are into conversion rate optimization. There's so much stuff. There's like 40 different tools. This is definitely not all of them, but you get those for free. So if you want to be a toolbox member, just go to measure.tips/W and it will take you to there so you can create your free toolbox membership, just a name and an email, and you're up and running. Finally, let's talk about the Academy. Now, the Academy itself, as I mentioned already in our workshop earlier, that is our flagship product. This is where we train people. The reason we created the Academy was to help you through this process, to get through this framework process and build a proper measurement plan, build out your measurement, and then finally use it. Right? Act upon that which you have measured to actually improve your results and to build a system that will predictably grow revenue and profits. Takes the drama out of marketing. That's why I love measurement. Totally takes the drama out of marketing. Going through this framework will help you, and the Academy is there to do that. Now, a quick tour of the Academy itself. As you go through, I'll bring it up here. When you come into the Academy, you get access to these little 6 blocks here. So our win courses, I'm going to cover some of the highlights. The win courses, you can see by date. The reason I pull this up is to show how often we update these. At least every 4 to 6 weeks, they typically get updated. The most recent one happened this month, actually, when we did Google Tag Manager server-side. So for those wanting server-side training, you got that there. Before that, we did basics. That was actually an update to the Beyond Basics course. We did an update to the Data Studio Basics course. So we're either updating or releasing new courses about every 4 to 6 weeks. They're also organized by topics. There's Google Analytics, including the new kid on the block, Google Analytics 4 Basics. So you have that if you want to learn Google Analytics 4. Of course, we already talked about Tag Manager and server side, the new kid on the block there for the Tag Manager world. But you can see what's back here, right? Dashboards and reporting with Data Studio and thinking about traffic attribution, which numbers are important to know. And then finally, strategy, which I think is really, this is the secret sauce to measurement, is understanding strategy, what's important to ask and why. So all of those are back here as well. So you have access to all of the courses, and the courses are just one part of the Measurement Marketing Academy. The other part is the on-demand workshops. Now, the on-demand workshops are these. It's the stuff that we do on YouTube. This is the current one that you're watching now. How meta of us. So you've got the one that you're watching now here, whichever the current one is for the week. This is the one you get access to, so you can see it here in the members area. But for members, we have edited student editions of all of them. So they come down here, they've got this part stripped out of it. They're, zoom effects and they're stripped down. So it's kind of just focused on answering questions. And the reason we do this is because it becomes a searchable library for you. So you can come through here and you can say, I want to figure out how to set goals. You can type in goal or whatever the thing is you're looking for. And then it searches through all of the courses and all of the on-demand workshops and then pulls up everything that can help you get started, right, as you go through. So just know that that is there for you. Again, that's the second component of the Academy, completely included with the Measurement Marketing Academy, these 2 bits. Now, you also have Winner Circle. It's a community to get help if you need it. I like the Winner Circle because it can be used for other skills besides measurement. Sometimes we have people that ask us like SEO questions, and we're not SEO experts, but some of our members are, so they can share their skills back there. Maybe you can share your own skills back in the winner circle. So that's there, the members community, so you have access to that. But the Toolbox is also a place to get some help. So Toolbox gives you the resources. Now, this is the free part for the Toolbox members. This is the part that we opened up for free. So you see all these different tools. You can see them all back here, also organized by topic. And then you start to see this section, Get It Done Guides. This is relatively new for us. This is new, and it's just for Academy members. So this is like that Eyes on the Journey report I was mentioning earlier. This essentially is kind of like a little craft kit. So we teach you the skills of how to use Tag Manager and Analytics and the courses and the workshops. But then here's where you start putting them all together to build something cool. Like in this case, the Eyes on the Journey report. It's got templates and things like that. So we're starting to do more of this just for Academy members, right? So that's exclusive to the Academy. So that's these 4 parts there we talked about. Then Ask Instructor Support, which is right here. Ask Instructor Support works like this. You come in, you got a question. You are literally going to ask the instructors, right? The instructors as they come through. Here's a question, and you type in whatever that's going to be, and then put here's my video. And the reason that I'm writing this down is because we love screenshots and videos. So think about being able to call somebody over to your screen kind of virtually and say, here's what's going on. What should I do with this? Send us a video that basically does that, where it shows your entire screen like you're seeing here on mine. Send it to the instructors. The instructors will look at that. 9 times out of 10, they're giving you videos and screenshots back because they're able to talk you through and say, oh, this little thing right here, you click on that box. That's what's going to solve it. And here's how we know that works, so they can teach you and build your skills as you go. Ask Instructor Support is way, way beyond I lost my password kind of support. So it's worth the price of admission for the Academy just buying this. I think this is just a product on its own, but it's included as part of the Academy. It's one of the reasons it sets us apart from others. And you can ask any question you want around measurement marketing, whether it's an implementation question or it's a strategy question. We get a lot of both back there because we've seen a lot of business models and a lot of tech platforms and a whole lot of strategy and dashboards and reports. So take advantage of it. So while it's back there. So that's Ask Instructor Support. And of course, you can manage your account with upgrades, downgrades, etc. Changing your regular password. That's where all that stuff happens there. So that is the Measurement Marketing Academy in a nutshell. Now, just to review again, the core components of that, you've got all the courses. We have the Ask Instructor Support. You've got the on-demand workshop library, and of course, the Winner Circle community with the peers back there. The courses are everything. There is nothing that is taken out. You get all the updates, everything that's new. Whenever we do a new update, we try to keep them updated on at least a yearly basis. If there's a major update that came out with a platform with something like Google Analytics 4, we're updating that, I think 3 times this year because it's changing so quickly. So that's coming up for an update in a couple of months. We kept them updated. Long story short, you get access to all of that, nothing else to buy. That's at least a $3,500 value because when we sell these courses, if we ever did, we did at one point anyway, it was a couple $100 a course. So that's a $3,500 in value because there's at least that many courses back there now. Ask Instructor Support, that in and of itself, about $500 a month if I was going to sell it on its own. We have, to be fair, have never sold it for that because we don't sell it as a standalone product, but we have been offered. And this is the rate we would charge for that. But we keep it for Academy members. So it's at least a $500 value. On-demand workshop library, we sold these for $20 a piece when we first started. And now we've got well over 200. It's at least $4,000 in value. And the Winner Circle community, most communities, about $100 at least to get access to peers and be able to chat and network with everybody back there to build the community. All told, it's about $8,500 in training and support that you have access to every single month that you are an Academy member. There's a lot of value back there. It's not one of those platforms that you're supposed to go through and watch every course and every workshop, because I promise you, we will create content faster than you will use it. This is a just-in-time learning platform. So it's got the answers that you need when you need them based upon where you are in your own measurement marketing journey. And of course, the Ask Instructor help along the way. To learn more about the Measurement Marketing Academy, including the pricing, it is definitely lower than $8,500 per month. I promise you that. Just go to measure.tips/getacademy. It will take you to the Measurement Marketing Academy page. And currently we have both monthly and annual options available. Of course, I'd recommend the annual option. Most of our monthly members end up upgrading anyway to the annual option. So it'll save you a little bit of money if you do that up front. But either way, whatever works for you, measure.tips/getacademy to take a look at what we've got available there. And with that, we've come to a close. Thanks for watching this strategy session, how to guarantee you're asking the right questions. Thanks again for watching this workshop. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.